Today's episode is brought to you by Mazars. SoundCartel. As time poor as they are, business owners don't tend to learn new things until the need actually arises. But when the rubber hits the road, seeking out that just-in-time information can add incredible stress and anxiety to an already difficult situation. From SoundCartel, I'm Nicole Goodman, and this is Business Essentials Daily. Leanne Faulkner is a small business mental health advocate and the founder of Fortitude at Work. As well as being a small business owner herself, she's a researcher and is completing her PhD in the mental health and well-being of micro business owners. With a focus on the stressors business owners face every day, Leanne is looking at solutions that can reduce the build-up of anxiety and serious mental health challenges. Leanne has some great tips around ongoing learning, navigating networking, and where to reach out for mental health support. To start, Leanne tells me what she's found through her research so far.
There's a whole range of very interesting areas that we may not necessarily think are immediately linked to our well-being in micro-business. One of the things I've uncovered is this notion of the way we learn about how to do business. We really are focused on the practical things that are going to affect our bottom line. And what I've been able to uncover is that we tend to go out and seek learning about how to grow our business when we need it. I'm already overworked usually in my business. I'm working very long hours. So I'm not going to seek out just-in-time learning. Just as I need it is when I'll go and get it. And I've found that those micro business owners who are practicing just-in-time learning, who are actively going out there and doing that, seem to be less anxious and stressed about the things that they've got to do in their business because they feel more confident to get the job done.
Well, post-pandemic lockdowns, we're getting back into the networking swing. Are these gatherings still a good way to meet people and source the kind of information that you're talking about?
Oh, most definitely. And on so many levels. So my research has shown and just, reinforced how much small business owners love learning from other small business owners. And that's just a learning playground at a networking event. So getting out there, maybe sitting next to somebody and talking to them about what's going on in their business, you might actually pick up something that is immediately applicable to your business without even having to go out of your way. You get to have a cuppa or you get to have breakfast or, glass of bubbles or something at the end of the day. It's really a most valuable way, and connecting with others. So having that sense of connection, which we really do get in that face-to-face environment, is just so good for our mental health as small business owners.
For a lot of people, networking can be a little overwhelming. It can be a tiring activity to consider at the end of the day. What's the best way to navigate a networking gathering?
I love this question because I'm actually one of those people. I'm very quiet. I find it kind of, a little bit stressful to walk into a room of people I don't know. So my top tips here is firstly, select the type of networking event that you think is best suited to you initially. So some networking events are just, register your name, walk into a room full of people you don't know and go and introduce yourself. Now, for some people, that's way overwhelming. Some networking events are a little bit more structured. So they might say, we're going to have a breakfast, everyone gets to sit down, we have a guest speaker, and plus people get to introduce themselves and we have time at the end of the speaker where you can talk to one another. That kind of structure can tend to give people who are a little bit more quieter and nervous about walking in a really easy way to ease into the networking because it's not all on them to have to go and introduce themselves. And then there are other networking groups that are much, much more structured and have a very explicit program around the way their 1 hour together works. And again, for some people, they find that level of detail very comforting. Now, if you've decided, look, I'm going to get brave and go to the general, after dinner bubbly thing, well, my advice in that instance would be a couple of things. Firstly, find out if anyone you know is going as well and ask if you can meet them out the front. And that way you can walk in together. And if they're regulars, then hopefully they'll introduce you to a few people. Secondly, remember, people love talking about themselves and their business. So if you ever feel awkward, talk about the business. And the third tip I have is whatever group you select, go regularly. Because really, learning from one another, it's all about liking and trusting people. So if we see your face there regularly, then we're more likely to trust you. And when trust is built up between people, it's okay to be a little bit more vulnerable and authentic and share learnings with one another.
What about peak bodies and associations? What is their ultimate value in the way that you run your business?
Oh, look, I said this so often through the pandemic. A hairdresser really needs to hear from another hairdresser. A butcher needs to hear from another butcher, because people in your industry are going to know your industry better than others, most likely. So I actually see a huge value in being a member of an association group. And I think nowadays you can kind of shop around and even find association groups that perhaps best suit you within your industry sector. I would highly recommend that, because the nuances of your industry are going to be best known within that cohort or within that group.
Well, times are indeed tough. Are there places for business owners to go for free information when the time does arise?
Yes, there's really two categories of places that you might go when you need to learn something or you need that bit of support. So if we're talking just-in-time learning, I've got something that's come up. I want to learn how to do social media, for example. I want to know how to do Instagram and Reels. Then I would suggest check out relevant podcasts, for example. Great free place to start. Go to places like business.gov.au. So many of the people, the small business owners I interviewed about where they go to learn, told me they go to YouTube, or they go to Facebook groups that are specific to their industry, or check out your association group for industry-specific learning. Now, if it's about getting some support through this process, then maybe that's more in the wellbeing side. I love the Beyond Blue New Access for Small Business Owners program. You get business learning from a business coach who also understands and can help to support you through the very stressful, perhaps the more challenging times that come in small business. Look at the ASB FEO website. I know it's an acronym. Google it, you'll figure it out. And go to the My Business Health page there. It's a great portal that actually will direct you based on what your need is. Go to Heads Up, have a look at the Heads Up page. Or another great resource that I think small business people don't use often enough is your Safe Work site within your state, or the Small Business Commissioner within your state. They have lots of free resources that will help in both practical learning and wellbeing support.
That was Leanne Faulkner, small business mental health advocate and founder of Fortitude at Work. For more about Leanne and her small business mental health advocacy, or to access any of the other great resources she mentioned, the links are available in the show notes of this episode. Business Essentials Daily is a SoundCartel podcast. Producers are Nick Schildberger, Chris Ashmore, Jeff Waters and myself. Technical production by Pete Letts. I'm Nicole Goodman. Thanks for listening. We'll bring you more Be Daily next week. SoundCartel. This episode was brought to you by Mazars. To find out more, visit mazars.com.au. That's mazars.com.au.